Welcome to the Cup of Joe Show, where we explore the journey of recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. One story, one conversation, and one step at a time. I'm your host, Joe, creating a safe space for honest discussions about the challenges and triumphs of addiction and alcoholism. In each episode, we'll hear inspiring stories and uncover tools that make healing possible. Sobriety is not a one-size-fits-all journey, and you don't have to face it alone. Recovery is possible, and it's worth it. Thank you for joining the Cup of Joe Show. Now let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Cup of Joe Show. I'm really excited to talk to Alex Z today. A little bit about Alex. Alex has been sober since August 12th, 2019. He's an active member of the Fifth Tradition Group in Chamblee, Georgia. His home group hosts a big book study and a speaker meeting every Thursday at 7, providing a strong foundation for recovery. Alex is a devoted husband to Natalie Z and a proud father of 2, a daughter and a son, and another little girl is expected in August. Outside of family recovery, enjoys riding motorcycles, exploring nature through hiking, staying active with weightlifting. Most importantly, Alex credits sobriety for giving him all of these blessings. He's deeply grateful for the 12-step program that changed his life, and today he's here to share his journey. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's get into it. Alex, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I appreciate the introduction. Even the introduction to your podcast was pretty cool to watch, man. You know what I'm saying? Because this isn't a one size fits all type deal, and I'm just very grateful to be a part of it.
Well, thank you for doing it. So what was it like growing up, Alex? Where did you grow up and what was your family life like?
Well, so I mean, I grew up in Lawrenceville, Georgia. Well, actually, more or so Sugarloaf area in Georgia. And, at a young age, my dad had kind of, skirted from the scene early on. I probably have early memories of him, but that was after my parents had been divorced. And, he would come and get me at times, but I remember one significant moment that he said, "Hey, I'm gonna be back for you, and we'll go to Disney World and all this stuff." And then I never saw him again. Right, so he had left at an early age, and it was just me and my mom. And my mom, being a single mother, she's one of the hardest working women I know. I mean, she provided, I'm saying, like, I didn't have everything I wanted, right? But at the end of the day, I had food in my stomach, a roof over my head, and I was protected, right? I was safe. So, I mean, in reality, she did a bang up job with what she had. Now, early on, it's, if we want to even jump into the addiction and alcoholism side of this, early on, I look back, and of course, like I'm a little kid at the time, so these things aren't apparent to me. But then once, I do inventory and I look back on my life and how I showed up, man, I started acting out really young age. I don't know if it was because I didn't have a father, I wanted attention, or what that looks like. I don't know what exactly to attribute it to, or rhyme or reason to it, but I was attention seeking. Right. And I was self-centered, and I was selfish in my nature. Of course, like I was a kid, but it's almost like it was exasperated in my actions. Like, I found getting attention the easy way was just to get in trouble or to act out. Right. I mean, and of course, like, that doesn't do me justice because consequence follows with that. But that was pretty much me at a really early age.
Well, I was going to say, was that like kind of like let me say this. I grew up single mother, so I completely understand father in and out. Mm-hmm. But getting in trouble and the consequences, was that kind of your first, like maybe the first warning signs looking back of, you might be at risk maybe for addiction or anything like that?
I could have been. I looking back, I could tell that I was always gravitated to older males, right? And so in the neighborhood I grew up in and the people I grew up around, a lot of the culture that I grew up in was, riddled with alcohol and drugs, right? So being such a young kid looking for that older male figure, a lot of the guys that, I mean, come on. Okay. So like I look at it as when I'm 30 or 25 years old, I'm not trying to hang out with no 12-year-old, right? Unless like
Right.
my values and my morals and my worth is dampened by, let's say, drugs or alcohol or some other circumstances like that. So like people, older males that would give me attention like that, most likely, and of course, like at least from my experience, they were affected by drugs and alcohol. And I'm sure if they weren't affected by that, their worth and their values and their morals probably be geared in a different direction, where they see a 12-year-old trying to hang out or a 13-year-old and be like, that's probably bad news. I'd probably let that kid go be with kids and not try to, hang out with them.
Yeah. How old were you when you took your first drink, Alex?
Oh man. So like, my experience, or what I dealt with, was mind altering substances as a whole. The first thing I tried was weed, right? And we talk about this bad boy mentality, or wanting this attention, and of course, like getting in trouble, seeking attention. When you get to a certain age, like I'm sure modern America today, you're going to run into drugs and anywhere, really. I'm sorry. Really anywhere in the world, you at some point around 13, 14, 15, 16, you're going to run into drugs and alcohol. And that's why they start bringing in these classes of drug usage prevention, or drug classes, to kind of, give some education to the kids. But I mean, I had that class and they were like, hey, don't do this. And I was intrigued. My senses went off, like, I should try that. So, I mean, go back to your question, at 13 years old, 12 years old, we found some weed, me and my friends, and I didn't think too much of it. I knew like something inside me gravitated towards it, but we smoked, and like, I don't even like find it so great of the action of actually smoking. But when I got home and laid in my bed, I thought to myself, like, man, like I felt like an ease and comfort, man. Like I felt a oneness with the world around me. Because I mean, if we go back to when your question about when I was a kid, something to pinpoint was like, I did not feel a part of. And I think that's something else of why I sought attention and stuff, right? Because I wanted to feel wanted. I wanted to feel a part of. I wanted to feel cool, all these things. And I was always in this worry and this fear and this like depression and shame and all these things at such a young age. And it's like, I didn't know a healthy way of coping with them, or I didn't come across someone to show me a healthy way of coping with them. Right. So when I did take that first smoke, it was like, man, this is awesome. Like I want to do this forever, and not only this, but anything that's going to make me like have the same effects that this does. And so like, in the program that I go to, I hear people talk about, they kind of move into alcoholism or drug addiction, or they, kind of just have it, right, as a hereditary thing, or just of that sort. And it's like, I had it from the get-go, right? Like there was no progression into the everyday life of a user and alcoholic. Like I had a little taste of marijuana that first time. I was like, okay, let's go for it. And I mean, if we want to talk about drinking too, the first time I finally had the opportunity to drink, I was 14 years old. And I mean, there was no just sipping, right? Like there was no lines drawn or, any thought around maybe I shouldn't do this, right? Like poured 4 shots of liquor, took them all down. I mean, a 14-year-old probably, I don't even think I weighed 100 pounds, man, drinking that much alcohol, and then like instantly blackout, wake up the next day with like just the biggest headache and not knowing what I did and wanting to do it again. I think that's what separates me from people who just drink liquor here and there or smoke pot here and there. Like I want more, no matter if I even have a bad experience with it or not. And that was my first experience with alcohol.
Yeah.
I said I wanted to do this again. I mean, it's quite ridiculous now and crazy, right? This insane idea.
Well, that's what I think. It kind of is. I mean, I think about like, man, because I was, I think 13 when I took my first drink, and I'm like, and you were 13, when you started, doing weed, and then 14 with alcohol, and it's like, I think about that now, and I'm like, man, we didn't have a chance,
No.
we really didn't have a chance. We were just. And I was like you. I was like, man, this ease and comfort. This is it. Now I feel okay. So how did your alcohol and drug use continue in high school? What was that like?
Well, man, so to back up and refer back to what I talked about, kind of grabbing for these older male figures. It's like we're no longer just in high school, even middle school. We're no longer just smoking weed and drinking liquor or beer. We're doing just harder stuff, methamphetamine, pills. I mean, that's why I'm like, I think back, I was like, there just wasn't really a progression in it, right? It was just like, I put myself into a position where like I just had a smorgasbord of stuff because I'm hanging out with all these older dudes, and it had me in its grips. I mean, I didn't even, hanging around those crowds doing those things come along with gangs and other, just not wholesome acts, right? Like, we had, broken into a house, and I got in trouble for that. And, went to juvie at like, 13 years old, 14 years old. Right. I mean, it was very young. And, I remember sitting in the jail cell, and like, I had some idea of God at this time, right? Like, cause my first thought is, when I was in a bind like that, is I get on my knees. They have a Bible in the cell. They have a Bible in every cell, right? So they take a Bible. I take the Bible, put it on the bed, got on my knees, made sure I was praying right. And I wanted to make sure that how I was kneeling on my knees and had my head bowed, that God would see that I'm doing it correctly, right? Like, it was one of those foxhole prayers, right? I said, God, please, I will never smoke weed again. I'll never do any of this stuff again. Just please let me out of here. And then I get out on house arrest, and I'm smoking weed and, drinking, or, all these things. And it's like, what happened with that prayer of desperation that I just, not too long ago. Like, I'm not even thinking about that. That's not even a thought. And this happens numerous times, even through high school. I mean, I'm just not able to keep it together, man. I mean, I cannot function, dude. Like, and it's crazy, because it's like I see all these other people, even people who drank like me and used drugs like me. I'm seeing them like put school before it, or put a girlfriend before it, or whatever. And like, I could go into a situation with the best intentions of, hey, I'm not going to do this, but I mean, 9 times out of 10, I always cross over that line. until some outside force stops me.
Were there any times that you tried to stop, like even in high school, as you know?
Oh yeah, I mean, so just like, we talk about this progression with alcohol and drugs, which again, I had a very short progression into it, but also there was a very large progression of getting in trouble and going to jail, and that was something that continued through high school. And I mean, I remember I had cut an ankle monitor off and got sent away, and I got sent away for 6 months because of that. And like, my friends are like, I think it was ninth grade or something in high school. And so like all my friends are, doing these things, and like I'm calling them on the weekends or when I get my phone calls there and stuff. I'm like, I'm missing out on this stuff. And like, I know 100% it's because of drugs and alcohol. And so like I say, I'm not going to do this. And like, I get out and then I start messing up again. But I kind of want to give you the full scope of everything, because I started messing up again, and they held going back to the facility I just spent 6 months at. Right. And so like, you hear people talk about white knuckling. I mean, I had just gritted my teeth through it and said like, hey, I'm going to stop using this substance for this substance. And then I'm going to start using this substance to get off of this substance. And then it just became, chain smoking cigarettes galore. I mean, I'm smoking cigarettes out the wazoo, and I'm able to reel it back. I mean, to the point where, I get off, the juvenile probation deal, and but I'm not able to stay stopped, right? And I'm not able to accumulate much time. And I think about also ahead in my life of that time. You talk about reeling it back, and man, I'm only able to hold it together for X amount, and I don't even know when that's going to be, but I know it's not going to be long. Because history has shown me that.
Yeah. So, and when you, like, were there any other, like, continuing consequences in high school, and did you, what else
Oh,
happened?
man, were there?
Kind of.
Oh, man, were there? Yeah, I know that. I mean, yeah, it's just, especially as kids, we get fixated on the material world. And I still do that as an adult now, but I'm losing all these things material wise, but I don't even realize it, but I'm breaking like these internal philosophies, or these codes, or these morals, or these wholesome ideas that have been instilled in me at a young age. I'm starting to just do things out of nature. If we want to talk about high school, man, like I finally got like, I'm just smoking weed. So I'm trying to manage, right? Like I'm just like, I'm gonna stay away from all the hard stuff. I'm just gonna drink on the weekends, and I'm just gonna smoke weed all the time, and just stay away from the bad stuff, like the bad stuff. And like, I'm managing well. Like I'm doing well in school, and I get my act together in senior year, and like, but also like I got this bad boy mentality, and like the older crowd like was like, hey, we have all this weed, why don't you sell some for us, yada yada yada. And so I started doing that, and like I'm thinking I'm got it going on. Like I'm the guy that everyone's coming to in the school. I'm making straight A's, right? A's and B's. I'm cool with all the cheerleaders and the football players, basketball players. The teachers love, all this stuff. And then one day, the police come to my house, and they arrest me, my mom, and my stepdad, right? They take my dog to the pound. I mean, we're all locked up. And and we're sitting in the jail cell, man, and it's another one of these foxhole prayers. My dad, like me and my dad are sitting there, and then like the county jail that I went to, they have women being processed across the hall. So all the men are up on the glass hooting and hollering at the women. And I didn't really think much of it. But then it really struck me when it's my mom gets walked out to be processed. And I see all these men up on the glass hooting and hollering at her, and I just break down the hardest sob ever. I mean, I was literally the description best fits of like weeping, right? Like I was weeping with sorrow. My dad's trying to comfort me, and again, I'm telling myself foxhole prayer. I'm like, God, I will never do this again. Just please get me out of this. Please don't put my family through this. And and man, I mean, we all get bailed out. Then, you know, my dad gets bailed out, my mom gets bailed out. They bailed me out, and I get home and the house is ransacked like a tornado, and I'm just feeling all the shame and guilt. And then like my friends come over to help me clean, and I'm like, okay, I have this little bit left, right? So we're just gonna do this, and then it's gonna be the end all be all, right? Like just one more time. And that happened at 17 years old, I suppose. 16, 17. Yeah, 17 years old. So, I mean, that one more time turned into 9 more years. 9 more years of progression. I mean, and just the consequences just kept building and building. And like every time I would get arrested or go to jail, and the amount of time I would spend in jail would get longer and longer and longer. Give me more time to come up with ways and ideas of how I'm going to do it differently. And then I would come out of it with these ways and the ideas I've been thinking about. And sooner or later, I'd always end up in the same situation in a jail cell with nothing and nobody.
Was there a time when you realized I really need some help?
I mean, it's, you know, I talked about there was not much progression for me. So yes, there was many times that I said I needed help, right? But my footsteps did not show that I was completely defeated. You know, I'd reach out for help, and a lot of times it'd be backed by like trying to get out of court sentencing, or try to please my mother, or like all these other outside circumstances would dictate me reaching out for help. But then inside, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this, but I don't know about doing that. You know, like I got introduced to AA when I was 13 years old, man. I mean, I knew there was a place that people could help me, but I just wasn't willing to accept the ideas or some of the proposals and ideas that were handed out in the AA. And I tried NA too, and I'm not here to be the spokesperson for these programs. I'm just here to share my experience on them. And what worked for me, you know. But again, going into these programs, doing these 12-step deals, I don't think my ears were open at the time, right? Because I'd sat in meetings and meetings and meetings, and like I heard the word sponsor, but it wasn't really like, hey, you need to get one. And I heard about the steps, but like, again, I'm pretty sure people were talking about it, but my ears just weren't open to the fact, right? Like I just didn't retain. I didn't have a retaining of like, you should probably do some steps. And I mean, I went to numerous detoxes, numerous halfway houses and treatment centers and facilities, and but again, I couldn't get myself completely out the way, because they would have all these rules and these things I needed to follow. And like, I just wasn't willing to do all of it. I do some of it. I do enough for people to think that I was on the right track. so much that I was
Yeah.
on the right track that I would fool myself into thinking I was on the right track, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And then what they call half measures.
Yeah, right? Half measures avail us nothing. And that's exactly what I
Yeah.
got. Nothing. I mean, I don't know so much about that though, because I think about it now and the men I sponsor and the experiences I share within the AA groups now and the meetings I go to and when I do share about this, right? Like, I mean, my experience being shared from that now is not it's not nothing, right?
Right.
Like I
Yep.
get to use this. I get to harness these hardships and these trials I went to maybe just maybe have a positive impact in sharing them to an individual. So maybe they don't make the same mistakes, right?
So what was the turning point for you?
Um, man, so like I mean, I'm not trying to get too graphic, but but I don't know if the listeners can really get a full understanding of how bad it was. But unless I share this, I could not stop sticking needles in my arm. I could not stop. Um, I just couldn't stop. And the thing was, it drove me to the point of where I was homeless. I mean, I had been living on the streets. I somehow accumulated enough money to buy a motorcycle, but even then, it was in the middle of summer when I bought it, and now it's like winter time, and I'm riding my motorcycle while the roads are icy. Right? If you've ever ridden a motorcycle in the snow, it's not favorable. But I got pulled over, and I had some warrants and stuff, and I went to jail, and it's so funny looking back on it now, man, because like the first act was manipulation that set me on a course for permanent sobriety that I have now, right? Like I was laying in the jail cell looking at the brick wall and like what can I tell my mom so she'll bail me out of here? Because again, I'm homeless. No one wants anything to do with me. I mean, I've just done people so wrong, right? I don't think anybody should be talking to me because I'm a danger, right? I'm a danger to these people. I'm hurting people left and right. And I was like, what can I tell my mom so she'll bail me out so I can get out of here? And I remember getting kicked out of a halfway house somewhere, and they talked about this place called the Bridges of Hope. They have a couple recovery spots in Georgia, but I was like, I bet you if I tell my mom I'll go there, she'll bail me out. And sure enough, we worked out a bond condition with the courts, and that contingent on me going to this place. And I guess this is something I need to share, and I think it looks more or less like pure hopelessness, right? Because I've had desperation before this moment in my life, but I think this is an expression of hopelessness. I got off the phone, went to the table of guys that I sat with, for the last month or whatever. So I'd kind of built some sort of like relationship with them in terms of like speaking, and I let them know like, hey, I'm getting bailed out, and they were like, yeah, man, you're gonna get out, you're gonna do good, you're gonna go to the Bridges of Hope, the recovery center, you're gonna do great. And every time before this, numerous times before this, probably 5 or 10 times before this, I've said, yeah, man, I'm gonna get out, I'm gonna do good, I'm gonna do right, all this stuff. And this time I was like, nah, man, like I'm gonna go get high, and then I guess I'll go down there, but I don't even know if I'll stay. And it's exactly what I did. Got out August 11th, 2019. Went and got high. went down to the Bridges of Hope. And, you know, man, when I got there, well, I think I need to share this as well because it's going to have some importance here in a second. You know, in this time, because we talked about could you ever reel it back? And, you know, when I got out of prison, when I was, 19 years old, I told myself I'm getting bad off again. I'm like, okay, if I just get a group of friends that don't do the stuff I do, I can, maybe they just smoke weed or take a little acid. What, like hippie girls, they're all about peace and love and harmony. I'm like, okay, I can hang out with them. They're not trying to like kill me in my sleep and steal all my stuff, and because those are the type of people I was hanging around. And in that, I met a wonderful woman. Her name was Kayla. And, we hit it off and we ended up having a kid together. And we were together 8 years. I mean, we had a beautiful baby together, and like, no matter how good my plans and how great I thought my will was, like I could never stay sober for my son. I could never keep it together. I kept getting locked up. I mean, I was locked up when she was 3 months pregnant. I was locked up when he was 3 months old. I was locked up when he was 1.5 years old. I mean, it was just, and now I'm sitting in this jail getting bailed out, and my son is like, 5 years old at this time. Then now I'm getting released to Bridges of Hope. So it's just an ongoing thing. And I get to Bridges of Hope, and there's no cell phones. There's no girls. We can't watch TV. There's like, it's out in cornfields and moo-moos, right? Like there's just nothing. And I was like, man, I'm not doing this. I now looking back on it, connecting the dots, it's like I had nothing to distract myself from me, right? Like I had to sit there with myself with nothing, no drugs, no alcohol, no TV, no media, no girls, no sex, no nothing. And I had to sit with myself. And man, I mean, it's just, I didn't want to do that. I didn't think I could do that. And so like, I walked up to the front office probably 5 times in the last week, and just like, so much, it was like, okay, pack his stuff, get him out of here, take him to the bus stop, right? And my mom said she was going to pull the bond. And I mean, you got to think about my poor mother. I mean, my sweet mother bailing me out, getting her hopes up again, just to find out 5 days later that she's going to have to revoke the bond on her child. I mean, I have 2 kids, like you said in your introduction. I got 2 kids now and 1 on the way. And like, man, my mother's so strong. Because I don't know how I would react or what I'd go through or how I'd feel if I'd have to do that to my child, going through all that stuff. She's so strong. And so as, I'm just in tears, and I just storm out of the office, and I go and I sit under this oak tree. Again, I said I'm in the middle of nowhere at this time. There is lakes and fields and beautiful, huge trees, and you're all around nature. I mean, at this time, I couldn't see any of the beauty, right? I was so caught up in myself and all my pity and shame and guilt and, all that like I couldn't see the beauty of what was around me. I was sitting there under the oak tree, man, and this we call him Papa Sco. He's the manager down there at the Bridges of Hope now, and he came under that oak tree. He probably told me the same thing I've heard many, many times before, but for some reason it resonated with me in that moment. And he said, "Hey man, look at your life. Look at all your plans and ideas, everything you've done up to this point, right? All your grand ideas, all these plans that you come up with to stay sober and do right. All your best ideas have landed you right here at the Bridges of Hope under this oak tree. Why don't you just do what's in front of you, man?" And we talk about we talk about first step, second step, third step experience. Like, I mean, I find that it's like my whole life is flashing before me in this moment, and it's like he's right. I didn't know what I was turning my will and my life over to, but it was something bigger than myself at that time. I couldn't fully grasp it, right? Like at this moment, I had what the book calls it, a flimsy reed that turns into the loving hand of God, but I don't know this at this time. But at the same time, like I'm looking at everything I've done before this moment, all my best ideas, and it didn't work. And I had no other ideas. I was fresh out of ideas, fresh out of plans. I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do whatever's in front of me to the best of my abilities. And it just so happens that the Bridges of Hope is like the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous college. There's no doctors, there's no therapists, there's none of that. It's everybody that's been in the Bridges of Hope, even the manager and the office assistants and the assistant manager, they've all been to the bridge, like through the Bridges of Hope, graduated and decided to stay there, to continue to work with people and take them through the book. So that's what we did. I mean, we had big book studies. We had it's called the 1, 2, 3 class, and basically someone would sit with you and take you through the first 63 pages of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, line for line. We do workshops on steps 4 through 12. You know, you get a home pass at 90 days, but by 90 days, you should be done with your 5th step, gone through 6 and 7, major lists. And so by the time you get your 90-day home pass, the sole purpose for you to make that pass is to go make amends, right? We talk about clearing up the wreckage of the past. If we want to back up a little bit and talk about inventory a little, you know, when I first was shown this 12 steps of recovery, my ideas and the way I thought about the world around me and the way I thought about myself were distorted and false, most of them, right? And that inventory showed me some hard truths, not only about the people around me, but more importantly, myself and how I viewed those people and how I had these resentments and these fears, what my sex conduct looked like, my other harms to people, right? One of my previous sponsors, he talks about there's a study that they say of like something happens intellectually within the mind, the brain, when you put pen to paper and you write down an inventory, right? Because I mean, having all that stuff in my head is jumbled up, but yeah, I can think about what I'm angry at or what I'm fearful of or what the things I've done, but there's something extraordinary that a lot of people can't even see. I mean, I couldn't see at the time of putting pen to paper and then outwardly speaking that out to with God present and to another person. And through that, it gave me the opportunity to shape some better ideas about the world around me. You know, the steps in a sense, at least the first time going through the steps, I believe they run linear, right? So it's like one after the other after other, like they have to be stacked up on each other. Like I can't just I can't start carrying the message of AA until I've learned the message of AA. I can't start making amends until I know where to make my amends. So like that inventory and that 5th step give me the opportunity to form this list and, you know, who should I actively seek out to make amends? And of course, like I'm not doing this on my own. Like that's something else I want to tell the listeners, right? Like this is so wonderful. 12-step programs in general, because you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to be alone, right? Like you can have a group of people guide you through this. The steps even speak about a we, right? Like we admitted we were powerless over alcohol. We, you know, just these we sayings. So like, you know, and if we, you know, go into amends on this, you know, to be honest, when I was going through the step process, I didn't have a relationship with God. I was still forming it. Like, yes, I was willing to believe. And in reality, talking about the third step, making a decision to turn my will and life over the care of God. If anyone's listening and they have a problem with God, you don't have to believe in God. Literally, you can take the third step and just take it as a sign of, hey, this is me making a decision to do the rest of the steps, right? That's all it has to be at the beginning of it. Because in reality, the 12 steps are designed to get you connected to God. So if I'm not connected to God, and also if I was already connected to God in step 3, I wouldn't need the rest of the steps. I'd be fine, right? If I could just get connected to God in 3 steps. But I was still doubtful, right? I mean, yes, I did my inventory and all this stuff, and I did the 5th step, you know, and did 6 and 7, and I was still doubtful. Like, I was just like, you know, I don't know, you know, still doubting about God, still doubting about the steps, but like, I think back of like under that oak tree of like, okay, I said I was going to do this, so like, I need to see this thing through. And I went on my first home pass, and I'm sitting in the car with my mom. I was like, "Hey, could you take me to this meeting? Because I gotta get, you know, I gotta get a meeting in, right? It's one of the conditions of our passes." And I started talking to my mom about this lady I wanted to make amends to because, you know, she let me, I was homeless at the time. She let me stay in her house, and she was a family friend, and I wasn't, you know, riddled with character defects. And I was just going through the lives of others like a tornado, like our book says, right? Like I'm just, and so I really like to try to make an approach and see how I can amend the situation. And my mom said, hey, she moved. She's in like Wisconsin or something, right? Like she moved away. And I was like, okay, well, I have a couple other people on my list, you know, that I talked about with the guys who were sponsoring me of like who I should make amends to. And you know, you listen to this and you're thinking like, why wouldn't he make, you know, his mom's right there. I'm sure she's the one most greatly affected by this. Right. And like, I felt inclined, and later finding out that this is spiritual, like intuition guiding me, but like, I don't find it a thing for me to go make an amends to a lady that I've said sorry to, and I'm going to do better, and I'm never going to do it again. And the person I affected the most, it's like, talk is cheap. Let me show him my footsteps. Right. And I eventually did make a formal amends to my mother. I waited till I got my first year. I took the chip to my mom, made the formal amends, and gave her the chip. Right. She has my 1-year chip. So like my 1-year medallion. So like in time. But this moment I was like, you know, let me just lead with my footsteps. And so back to the story of, you know, my mom taking me to that meeting, and I was just previously talking to that lady, and, you know, she talking about that lady, and she had moved away. My mom told me. So I got to the meeting early, and so like I went over to this Goodwill and this thrift store and stuff, and just like looking around, you know, wasting time. And so I walk out and I start walking towards the meeting, and lo and behold, walking out of that thrift store is the same lady that's supposed to be moved up to Wisconsin. She was down visiting her daughter that weekend. And she just so happened to be shopping at that thrift store right across the street from the AA meeting that I was going to that evening. So like, you know, the book we read, it talks about like, you know, is God everything or is God nothing? And then it talks about coincidences and stuff, and nothing is a coincidence, you know? And man, after this experience, I was like, I was sold. I was
Yeah.
sold.
We always say, is it odd or is it God?
That's a good one. I've never heard that one. Is it God? Is it odd or is it God? That was definitely God. You know, he was man. And so I mean that propelled me into a momentum of AA where it's just like, okay, let's make amends, come back. And what I loved about the Bridges of Hope, that it teaches you teaches you about steps 10, 11, but most importantly, carrying the message, step 12. So like the people who are about to leave the Bridges of Hope are carrying the message to those who are just coming into the Bridges of Hope. Right. So it gives me an opportunity to start practicing like sponsorship and doing fifth steps and carrying people through the book line for line and giving them my experience on the steps. And, and I mean, we could sit here all day talking about the miracles of AA and what it's done in my life.
Yeah. Well, what are some of the best things that have happened to you since you've been sober?
Man, I do want to, and this isn't the best thing, right? But like looking back on it, it's like I am so grateful for AA, right? Because I leave the Bridges of Hope. Long story short, the mother of my child, or our child, our son, my roommate starts drinking. She gets out of jail. She comes and sees me. I give her a birthday present. We spend some time together. I tell her I can't be with her because she's still doing the things. And then the next day I get a call from her roommate, and her roommate told me she had overdosed and died. She had passed away, right? And it's not a time for sorrow or to feel sad. Because we've already, the time has come and passed, and now it's to be thankful for AA and to also carry this message to other people of like, hey, just because something horrible happens doesn't mean you have to get drunk or high over it. Like the steps are designed to not to not only help me with my drinking and drug problem, but they're designed to help me with all my problems. Right? So like I'm going to a bunch of meetings, I'm sponsoring a bunch of folks. And I walk through her funeral and being there for my son and showing up for her family and like all these things, because of AA. AA's got a stamp on it, right? Property of AA, everything I have, everything I've been through is because I was able to get through it sober and sane because of AA. And I'm not perfect. I mean, I had 2 years sober, and I was just like acting out and sex, having sex defects crop up, and but continue to do the process, right? Like things start to become objectionable, but still in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm never going to love I've lost this love, with Kayla dying, and I don't think I'm ever going to be able to have a healthy and happy relationship with another woman again. Lo and behold, I go on a spiritual retreat 2.5 years ago, and I meet a girl there. My intentions were not to go meet a girl. My intentions were just to listen to some good speakers and hang out with some friends. But one thing led to another, and we started dating, right? And she's got we now, because now we're married, but we have a beautiful 10-year-old daughter. And we have a beautiful 11-year-old boy now, right? We get to be a blended family and navigate through the madness as best as we possibly can, right? I mean, it just is. But it's so beautiful because like through AA, I found God, right? And through AA, God's able to direct me to be usefully whole to others and to continue to grow. Man, I remember this idea, these ideas of like, man, I just want to be a man, right? I want to keep my word. I want to show up. I want to be a protector. I want to be all these things. And like, I just could never do it because the drugs and the alcohol and all this stuff would just show up, right? Or even without the drugs and alcohol, I would still be riddled with defects of character, right? I'd still be acting out because I didn't have my solution at the time, which my solution was drugs and alcohol until I found AA. But through the steps and through AA, by really no managing of my own, I become this man that I always wanted to be for my now wife, for my kids. You know, I don't remember the last. I mean, I missed one baseball game or two for my son, but that's because like I'm on this men's retreat committee thing for my home group, and like I just need to show up for that, right? But I mean, my son knows I'm going to be there, right? And my son knows I'm going to show up. When I say I'm going to come pick him up or be there, because it was hit or miss the first 5 years of his life, because I didn't even know where I was going to be the next day, right? Like I had no control over what was going to go on. But now I'm able to show up. I'm able to show up for my family. And now we have a beautiful girl on the way. She's due August. Wouldn't it be crazy if she was born on my sobriety date? Oh, man.
That would be cool. That would be an honor God moment right there, buddy.
Yeah, most definitely. But man, they like, you know, you talk about these miracles or these gifts, right? Like of sobriety. And I mean, when my house got raided, I dropped out of school, right? Like I was 12th grade, straight A's. And like because my parents and we were all on the mugshot online deal. And like, I just kept getting all this stuff from friends about it. And teachers were even asking me about, you really got your parents arrested and all this. And like, I was just guilt, pity, self-pity, self-loathing. I didn't pass high school, and I ended up getting my GED. And, you know, we are geared towards thinking that I must have a college degree or a high school diploma to be able to be successful in the world. And these are good things. Like, I'm not gearing people away from that, because like I think every young adult should have some form of education or push towards it. But at the same time, you don't necessarily need that to make a living. And like when I got out of the Bridges of Hope, I didn't have an idea of what I was going to do. Didn't have a job set up, didn't have any of these things. But through no doing of mine again, I take a little action here and there. When something's indicated, I take a step, right? Or I do this or I do that. And now I love, you know, you said in my introduction, I love nature. Well, I get to be a account management for a landscaping group, right? And so a drug addict, alcoholic like me is now the face of like a pretty large company with multiple branches, right? Like I'm the first guy people, you know, our clients see, and I get to work with numbers, which I love math. And I get to do designs, and I do renderings and drawings, and I get to deal with plant material and stuff. And I get to talk with people, and I get to manage people, and it's crazy. And now all the guys that my counterparts in my industry that I've worked with, I've been much older than me, or they have college degrees or horticulture licenses and stuff like that. And I have some licenses that I picked up over the years and stuff, but man, this is just me doing AA, dude. Like this is just me doing the AA deal, taking small steps here and there, and God just placing me in a position where like I can be, you know, self-supporting, declining all outside contributions, right? Individually, and now, you know, as a partner to my wife, that's another beautiful thing, right? I mean, my sponsor and his wife, they do like a traditions thing for married couples. And so me and my wife got to integrate the traditions of AA into our marriage. right? And we get to use that. And I mean, she said she wasn't going to get with somebody in AA or that had a kid, and I'm both in AA and have a kid, so double whammy. But I think it's perfect. I think we fit perfectly together. Our wedding was so beautiful. Like having all these people there that like care and love you, and you care and love them too. It's miraculous, right? And I think back, I mean, August 11th, 2019, man, like I had nothing. I was going nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's just this beautiful thing that AA's got to put together, because I got out of the way and I just followed direction.
Pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff.
It is, isn't it?
What would you say to someone who might be listening who feels like they're beyond hope?
Oh, man. This is why I tell my sponsees, man, don't give up. If you're still breathing, that means that there's a chance. That means you still got a chance and man, I talked about that fifth step, right? Like my ideas and all these things were so distorted, and like the way I felt about myself and the way I looked at the world around me, it's like I practically gave up too. But man, you got to try. If you're still breathing, that means that God has plans for you. Something wonderful, right? You know, get to a meeting or seek some help or ask for help. I'm sure you ask enough, someone's going to put their hand out for you.
True story. Thank you so much, Alex. And I really appreciate you sharing your experience and strength and hope. But I can't let you go without asking you our rapid fire questions. So I hope you're ready.
Here we go.
No pressure. No pressure. What is your favorite recovery slogan?
I am responsible. When anyone anywhere reaches out for help, I want the hand of AA to always be there, and for that, I am responsible. I don't know if that's a slogan, but that's kind of what I live by.
Sounds slogan-y to me. What is your least favorite recovery slogan?
Meeting makers make it.
What do you think is your sobriety superpower?
Oh man, patience. I think me and my wife talk about, I mean, because we're one entity in the eyes of God. So we talk about recovery, talk about our sponsees, and like, you know, I'm a little bit more patient with my sponsees than she is. But then again, like, I don't know, she's had more success with hers too. So that says something about that. But I don't know, I'm pretty patient and empathetic.
If you could say one thing to your former self, what would it be?
Oh man, just hold on, because everything you're going through right now is going to be used for the greater good later on.
What song do you play to lift your spirits when you need a boost?
Another Thing Called Love by Queen.
Nice. I'm a Queen fan. Sorry, I had to.
No. Yeah, man. Mama and me grew up on that.
Yeah. If you could grant yourself one wish to help with your recovery, what would it be?
Oh man. Give me the opportunity to help more people. I mean, I know God's got these plans and stuff, and He's got it all laid out for me. I just need to do the next right thing and exactly what's in today for me. But I'd love the opportunity to just help more people, man. That'd be my wish.
What step do you love the most?
Oh gosh, oh gosh. I mean, that's more like a love hate, right? Like, I mean, because usually, like the most, the greatest growth comes with the most uncomfortability, right? And uneasiness, and like the things that show me the truth about myself. But it's hard, man. I'm stuck between like step 11 and 12, man. I like the prayer and meditation is super useful, and the reflection on itself is so beneficial. But at the same time, like there's nothing more that keeps me accountable than working with a sponsee, right? How am I going to ask an individual to do something when I'm not doing it, right? Or when I'm not, it keeps me in line and shows me new stuff about myself every time.
So what step do you love the least?
Oh, 6 and 7. I'm doing both of them, right? Because they're the most misunderstood and mysterious steps out there. I mean, they got like a couple paragraphs on them, but come to find out this is a life, like there is no execution of the step and then move on or revisit it. It's like these are 6 and 7 are like something you need to be aware of at all times, because it's going to crop up, and then I have to continue to ask God to remove these things. And then, even if I continue to ask God to remove these things, is it going to be removed, or is it going to continue to crop up? And more times out of none, it continues to crop up.
Fair enough. Mm-hmm. What is your favorite curse word?
Oh God, fuck. Probably, yeah. Yeah, probably so.
I hear you. And if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh man. Here they are. Or here are all the people, right? Like all the people I miss or love or care about, or because I mean you gotta think, like, I believe in my heart I'm gonna be able to be with the people who have gone and passed and share timeless, timeless stuff with them, right? Or just like be with them or see them. I'd love to see my grandfather again and have Aiden meet his mom one day. And, and I love my mother so much, and she's getting a little bit older, but when she passes, like I'd love to be with her again and stuff. So probably like, hey, here they are, like that's probably what I'd like God to say.
That'd be pretty cool. Oh man, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. And just so everyone knows, a new episode's released every Thursday at noon. You can listen to the show in your favorite podcast apps, Amazon Audio, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and others. Just search for The Cup of Joe Show. Don't forget the. And like, subscribe, and share, because somebody probably needs to hear this message today. Thank you so much, Alex. It was really an honor having you on the show.
Thank you, Joe. It was a pleasure. I appreciate you.
It's just a laid-back vibe, baby.
We hope you enjoyed today's Experience, Strength, and Hope. We are so grateful you decided to join us. Please share this episode with someone who might need it. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, no matter where you are in your recovery journey, you are not alone. Reach up and reach out to someone. Please do not suffer in silence. Until next time, let's take it 1 minute, 1 hour, and 1 day at a time. Thanks for listening to The Cup of Joe Show.